Global Properties inaugurates its new headquarters along the Baden-Baden Highway. About 500,000 of the Nigerian population lack access to internet despite its significant benefits. And South Africa's agri-industry has been impacted by the soaring prices of farming inputs. Well, this and more coming ahead on The World Today. Hello, you're watching Eyeafrica TV and coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And of course, let's look at now the news in detail. I am Amadou Kante, and many thanks for joining us. And we begin with some infrastructure development because Global Properties on Thursday launched its head office complex along the Baden-Baden Highway. Now, the 11-floor infrastructure is an achievement that consolidates the site of the mega housing agency over the past years. Moses Emendi has the details of that in this report.
Global Properties continues to thrive, with its latest achievement being the launching of an 11-floor story building to serve as the company's headquarters in the Gambia.
1, 2, 3.
The fanciful structure also has additional space for commercial renting. Saul Fraser, CEO of the real estate agency, described the launching of the complex as an amazing milestone and said the company has grown from scratch to becoming a household name in the country. He explained the need for the structure.
As a top company in the sector, having our own commercial development was important to ensure we strategically position ourselves in the market. We knew right then and there that the first step would be to build our own headquarters here in the Gambia. So when the opportunity came, we immediately took it up and designed an amazing 11-story commercial building right on the Baden-Baden Highway. This will be the tallest building in the history of Gambia so far.
Mr. Fraser said the realization of the new complex is a dream come true for the dignified company. He expects the building to reach full completion by the end of the year. The company has also embarked on various projects, and Jilan Fay, a Global Property staff member, said they are working hard to meet the rising demands for housing in the country.
And you also have the apartments at Kolo Lisans, which are seafront luxury apartments available for sale as well. And again, they're selling fast because these are opportunities where you can develop your investments. We also have our two-yearing housing project, which was our initial affordable housing project which we launched, and it's doing quite well and pretty much almost sold out. So you can see that there is a demand in housing in the Gambia, and we're working towards meeting these demands.
Global Properties is a dynamic real estate agency and developer established in the Gambia, Senegal, and Ghana. It has service offices in London and the United States. Its mission is to build a brand that will be synonymous to the development, sale, and management of quality houses. Moses Mendy, Eyeafrica News.
And from the report by Moses Mendy, moving on, Chinese President Xi Jinping said cooperation is the only way to prevent economic crisis. He was speaking during the opening ceremony of the BRICS Business Forum in Beijing. Now, the BRICS member states include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the leaders are meeting this year amid a major shift in the geopolitical order. President Xi also encouraged developing countries to work in solidarity to promote sustainable development to respond to the global demands. Here's more details of that in this report.
Chinese President Xi Jinping called for efforts to brave challenges in a bid to build a community with a shared future for mankind. His comments coming in remarks during the opening ceremony of this year's BRICS Business Forum in Beijing. Addressing the Ukraine crisis, China's leader said it was a wake-up call for the world, a warning that assuming a position of strength and attempts to expand military alliances and seek one's own security at the expense of others will only land oneself in a security dilemma.
事实一再证明
It has been proved time and time again that sanctions are a boomerang and a double-edged sword to politicize, instrumentalize, and weaponize the global economy, and to willfully impose sanctions by taking advantage of one's dominant status in the international financial and monetary systems will only end up hurting one's own interests as well as those of others, and inflict suffering on people around the world.
China's president also stressed that developing countries should reach out to each other and jointly promote sustainable global development to help meet difficult challenges and achieve what he called win-win cooperation. He said BRICS members should be inclusive and jointly expand openness and integration.
金砖合作机制 是新兴市场国家和发展中国家合作的重要平台。
The BRICS mechanism is an important cooperation platform for emerging markets and developing countries. The business community is a dynamic force driving practical BRICS cooperation. BRICS cooperation has now entered a new stage of high-quality development. I hope business leaders will be promoters of open, innovative, and shared development, working with tenacity and a pioneering spirit, so as to add new impetus to BRICS cooperation.
More than 1,000 officials, diplomats, and business representatives from 18 countries participated in the forum, including well-known names in energy, finance, and manufacturing, as well as emerging industries such as e-commerce, new energy, and the digital economy. The forum concluded with a joint statement, the Beijing Initiative, which urged BRICS members to continue to support multilateral trading systems and push for sustainable development around the world.
And from the report there from the Asian continent of China, let's coming back to the African continent. Now, despite the growing internet benefits, about half of Nigeria's 200 million population are not accessing internet services. Now, this high number of internet isolation in the West African nation is attributed to unaffordability and lack of understanding of internet potential in the people's activities. Now, amidst this situation, experts opine that improved internet accessibility will help boost the country's economy. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Dominic Andova runs this printing business in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. He leverages on internet connectivity to boost his service delivery. He spends an average $70 monthly on internet subscription, and that has helped him attract more customers.
50% of my business is with the internet. Like I said, when people come, they want to download. They want to upload. Sometimes somebody could be somewhere, send you a document, and you print, you send back to them. So internet is very important in our business, very, very important. So it plays 50% of our business.
But nearly half of Nigeria's population still have no access to internet connectivity. 40-year-old Ashafa Mohammed is one of them. The local tea seller hasn't been able to take advantage of the rising trend of online business promotions. For many, like Ashafa, affordability and a lack of knowledge of the internet potentials have been the snags to adoption.
I can't even afford to get an internet-enabled phone. There's so much to contend with. I would also have to learn to navigate my way around the internet. I know it could help improve my business.
We have a gap in our skill sets. We have a problem in infrastructure when it comes to the speed of the internet and infrastructures based on the type of technology that we have presently for the internet. I think presently we just have the mobile operators providing us with internet.
Out of Nigeria's 200 million strong population, there are about 109 million internet subscribers. Experts believe that ramping up access to internet connectivity would boost the economy.
For the economic growth, basically, when we talk about things like remote work, okay, you're actually doing jobs that are not existing in your country, your geographical location. So at the same time, you're actually making money outside your geographical location and bringing that money into your geographical location. Okay, so by the time you have a lot of people doing this same kind of jobs, remote jobs, without any boundaries, you're actually expanding the economical growth of the country.
A report from the International Telecommunications Union shows that vast prospects of the internet are grossly untapped, especially in low-income countries like Nigeria, where poverty and infrastructural deficits hamper access. Experts are clamoring for the government to engage more players in the sector to harness the gains.
And that report there is coming from the Nigerian capital, Abuja. Now, Horn of African leaders and the first Chinese special envoy to the region met in Addis Ababa to outline measures of enhancing peace and security in the region. Now, the participants attending the meeting have embraced China's commitment to help silence the guns in the Horn of Africa with a view to building lasting peace. Now, the China-Africa Peace Conference is expected to yield a positive outcome in ending the regional differences. Here's more details of that in this report.
Accordingly, it was a gathering of members of the Horn of Africa region in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, a meeting convened by the Chinese special envoy to the Horn of Africa.
China is all along convinced that countries in the Horn have the political resolution to seek strength through solidarity and the political wisdom to resolve differences through dialogue and consultation. China will continue to support countries in the region to uphold the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security, protect regional peace and security, and silence the guns in the Horn of Africa.
The deputy foreign affairs ministers of Somalia and South Sudan say China can do a lot for the peace of the region.
Young generations are coming rich, and it is a job creation in development. Once you make the development, and the Chinese, they can make development and job creation in our area. When the young boys, they get their education, their work, their health insurances, all this, the situation of Horn of Africa will improve. And we are the entrance of Africa. So once we get peaceful in the Horn of Africa, then the other rest of Africa will get peace.
This conference is a roadmap that will be used by ourselves for us to be able to identify a key project that can be key project implementable that we can share within our national development plan. South Sudan have a vision 2040. So we will work with our colleagues in the region, we'll work with China for us to be able to realize what we have discussed today. This will improve the security in the Horn of Africa. It will help the connectivity in the Horn of Africa. It will help us for us to achieve economic development.
In China's view, the people of the Horn of Africa must be masters of their own destiny.
What we learn from the lessons of history is that the Horn of Africa must not become the backyard of any country. Rather, the people of this region should be the masters of their own country's destiny. In today's international relations, where democracy is an irreversible trend, we need to unequivocally uphold independence and basic norms of international relations.
China is a strategic trading and development partner to Africa. Beijing's contribution to Africa's all-rounded growth is an undeniable fact. China's contribution to pacifying Africa is also a necessary and timely move. Experts call it a much-awaited gear change finally delivered for mutual benefits.
Coming back home, the IMF Gambia office, in partnership with the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs and the Central Bank of the Gambia, Tuesday launched the April 22 Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Economic Outlook, held under the theme Another Sock and Little Room to Maneuver. This session was attended by the 5 major higher education institutions in the Gambia, government officials, participants from development partners, the private sector and the press to discuss the impact on how economies in sub-Saharan Africa are faring following the COVID-19 pandemic and the fallout from the war in Ukraine on the region and the Gambia. Here's more details of that in this report by Yahya Jammeh.
The April 2022 report indicates that economic recovery in sub-Saharan Africa surpassed on the upside in the second half of 2021, prompting a significant upward reversion in last year's estimated growth from 3.7 to 4.5%. This year, however, that progress has been jeopardized by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has triggered a global economic shock that is hitting the region at a time when countries' policy space to respond is minimal to non-existence. Most notable surge in oil and food price are straining the external and physical balances of commodity importing countries and have increased food security concern in the region. Abdoulaye Diallo, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance, spoke of the importance of the session, saying it will serve as a policy direction on the challenges the region is facing.
At the IMF country office for giving us the honor to welcome you all to the launch of this important regional economic outlook document. The contents of this report will serve as a guide for policy direction as we continue to face unprecedented challenges as a result of the recent shocks to the Gambian economy and the global economy as well. After being severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Gambian economy appeared to be emerging from the collapse triggered by the pandemic and was beginning a subdued recovery with signs of improvements, especially in the services and industry sectors. With the global rollout of vaccine, the development partner support for the Gambia's vaccination program, and the resilience of some of our economic sectors, growth was expected to rebound from 4.8% in 2021 to 6.8% in 2022, and moderating to 6.1% in 2023. However, the emergence of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and its effects on the global supply chain and commodity prices has dampened these prospects, causing growth projections to be revised downwards to 4.3%, 4.8%, and 5% in 2021, 2022, and 2023, respectively.
Mamadou Jole Barry, the IMF resident representative in the Gambia, delivered a presentation on how the Ukraine war is felt on the economic outlook in the region and in the Gambia.
Given the fact that Ukraine and Russia trade and financial linkages with sub-Saharan Africa is limited, that the impact of the war would have been limited for our continent. But what we have seen is that this war, like the pandemic, will bring significant impact on sub-Saharan Africa. The reason being is that many countries are in a situation where they don't have enough buffer to respond to the challenges that the war is bringing. So like other countries, there are 3 channels that we saw that will, through which the war will affect sub-Saharan Africa. The first one is through the energy prices, the second is through the food prices, and then the third is through the volatility of financial markets. Now on energy and commodity prices, the war already came at a moment where commodity prices, including energy, was on an upward trend. So the war amplified pre-existing trends that led to a significant increase on energy and commodity prices. We have seen some declines recently, but the level of these prices remain well above what was projected before the war.
He added that the war will hurt the poor most, as food is a large share of the consumption basket of the poor.
there is a sizable term of trade shock for the net oil and the commodity importers, which is translating into worsening balance of payment due to the high cost of energy and food price import. You have pressure on prices that will definitely affect the standard of living for households. And then on the fiscal, we have weakening fiscal balances for countries, especially those that are delaying the adjustment of oil and food prices to translate them onto the retail price. The second element is rising food prices, which is expected to hurt the vulnerable the most. To give you perspective, Sub-Saharan Africa imports around 85% of the wheat it consumes, which represent about 2.5 billion, of which 1/3 come from Ukraine and Russia. So the blockage that we have on the Ukrainian export and the sanctions on Russia that prevents countries from being able to pay or import from Russia will have significant impact on Sub-Saharan Africa. And these high food prices is set to hurt the poor the most, given that food is a larger share of the consumption basket of the poor.
Looking beyond the pandemic and the current geopolitical tensions, job creation and meeting the sustainable development goals will require strong, inclusive, and sustainable growth in the region. To this end, the safe policy action is needed to enhance economic diversification, unleash the private sector's potentials, and address the challenges posed by climate change. For Africa News, Yahya Jammeh.
This is the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And from the report there, we now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and once again, many thanks for joining us. And let's look at now the rest of the stories. Now, the University of the Gambia School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences Wednesday inducted newly graduated medical students into the medical profession. The swearing ceremony was held at the Paradise Suites Hotel. Here's more details of that in this report by Moses Mendy.
The 15th cohort will now join the growing number of students graduating from the UTG School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences. Since inception, the school has graduated over 300 students, a tally that has now heightened with the graduation of Class 22. The swearing-in ceremony of the 40 graduates opened a new chapter in their career as medical doctors. In marking their induction into the medical profession, the young doctors took a Hippocratic oath to uphold the core values that guide their actions. Herbert Robinson, Vice Chancellor of UTG, described the occasion as a success story and said it is the beginning of a challenging journey.
Today's swearing-in ceremony presents a solemn but joyous occasion for our graduating medical doctors to swear their professional oath and thus become properly inducted into the medical profession by the Medical and Dental Council of the Gambia. After the completion of their program of study, doctors need such a statement to make a public commitment to the professional responsibilities they are assuming. Thereafter, these principles should provide guidance in the increasingly difficult, complex, ethical, life and death decisions they will make throughout their professional lives.
He urged the graduates to be guided by a genuine sense of nationhood as they practice their work. Professor Pierre Gomez, Minister of Mohast, reminded the young doctors about the national call to serve and stated that if their predecessors had stayed, the country's health sector will have experienced remarkable success.
So I hope once again that you will work to support the healthcare delivery as in the Gambia during these trying times. And I sincerely hope that you will all promise to work in the Gambia at least for some years. This batch of doctors now come to more than 300. Can say 321, but the data can be looked at after. But more than 300. That's what this government has done since the last batch in 2006. But you've heard the Minister of Health talked about the provinces. Let's imagine all these 300 plus. If they had stayed, because the reality is a good chunk have gone. That's why I said to look at your parents, look at your brothers and sisters, so that we don't repeat the same mistake.
He added that the government prioritizes the medical school because it needs a healthy nation. Dr. Amadou Samate, Health Minister, lauded the young doctors for demonstrating patriotism during the COVID-19 pandemic and reminded them of what is expected of them.
To whom much is given, much is expected. We expect doctors to perform as doctors, to behave as doctors, and I'm happy that all the speakers before me did mention that. A senior colleague of mine did mention to me a number of years ago. He said, we are respected as doctors because of what we know. Today, I'm going to stand here and add something to that, but also because of the way we behave. If we want to be respected as doctors, we must behave like doctors should behave. So a lot is expected of doctors. I'm happy that the chairman of the Medical and Dental Council did mention all those here, the ethics of the profession. But of course, there are also etiquettes of the profession, which we need to know.
He said the group is promising and assured them of the ministry's support in their endeavors. Honorable Samate also revealed that the government has commenced postgraduate training in the country and doctors can now specialize at home without needing to go abroad. He encouraged the newly qualified practitioners to not separate from their books because education is a continuous process. Almami Kante, 15th cohort class representative, while giving a speech said, they have overcome challenges, but the next chapter requires a better version of them, adding that every level comes with its challenges. The occasion was closed with the awarding of Physician Oath Certificate to the graduates. Inasmuch as the UTG Medical School continues to enjoy success, it has also been faced with infrastructural and human resources challenges. Moses Mendy, Eyeafrica News.
And from the report there, onto our final story now, stakeholders in South Africa's agricultural sector have expressed concern over the high cost of imports, which are believed to be affecting the industry. Now, the development of the country's farming industry is also hindered by local logistical challenges and the recent global prevailing economic hardship. However, the farm producers are positive about the availability of food stock in South Africa and beyond. Here's more details of that in this report.
Despite this, the AGBIS IDC Agribusiness Confidence Index was still 10 percentage points above the neutral 50-point mark.
So I think there's three main factors. The first is rising input costs. And then from a global perspective, logistical pressures have also contributed to that. In South Africa, we also have internal logistical issues. So I think the culmination of those three factors have driven sentiment down.
The road network, infrastructure network that has to do with the movement of produce, especially for the export markets, has been hampered this year. Floods earlier in the year, but the general road infrastructure which is very in a negative state and deteriorating.
Sanctions have also affected the distribution of fertilizer. Plans are afoot to increase local production through the Foscor business.
We're now working with the Industrial Development Corporation to see how we can up the production and capability there.
Despite the fertilizer issue, food security is not a concern, says the South African Agricultural Minister.
We are okay as a country. The issues that we are concerned about is indeed the prices that have shot up, put strain on a number of people.
South Africa produces half of the wheat it needs for itself and the SADC region. The rest is imported. Price remains a key consideration.
We have actually got enough stock which can provide for South Africa and the Southern African region, because when we do our imports, we also accommodate the SADC region on those.
I think there's definitely a cap on what consumers can pay for products like bread and pasta, and that will filter down to the ultimate price that we can import from, or the amount of that we will eventually import.
While sentiment remains a little muted in the agricultural sector, steps are being taken to ensure that the challenges are met and overcome.
And that report there from South Africa eventually brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.